So you want to review. Um, well, um, I started 25 years ago to do this, and it was just based on a question, and the questions sort of got better and better, and the answers got better and better, and finally, I had discovered a seven-sided form, and I had been studying it for all this time, and it took me 2 years to realize that it was the left ventricle of the human heart. And so I pursued that on the physical side to try to find out if that was correct, and that it was. And so I did a lot of different things with it. I worked with water, with the turning in the vortex, and I tried to find out where it was in the world. I turned it inside out. Yeah, I put it through the water process. I put it through um, how it related to earth, water, air, and fire. And so in the meantime, I had no clue, but I found it artistically because I could not find um, the form any other way. And I found the seven-sided form. Uh, it does not have equal surfaces. I thought it did for a long time, but then I had two mathematicians come in, um, one doctor, and showed that the two faces were equal. But then when I put it together with the faces they said were equal, it didn't work. That took a while. So it's not a platonic form. Um, all of the faces aren't the same. There are only two faces, okay, but platonic forms have only one face in a particular shape. So in that process, I have learned a lot of things I didn't know before. I brought a lot of different research together. And so I'm happy to answer any questions or show anything. 1999, I retired, and that summer I signed up for a course called Girthian Science. And this was offered at Roseanner College by Dennis Kochek. And um, I was going to take a course in art, but I didn't because I had enough training in art. I wanted to try something in science, and I always have liked Goethe. So I took this class, and in there, like you said, I found the Platonic forms by one of the instructors that came in, and she showed all five, and I decided that, well, where's the seven because of that? And she said there's no seven. So that was my pursuit. My pursuit started there in that class.
Form up here.
It took 2 months. It took 2 months of working with it. And what I did is I started out with this seed. I don't know if you can. Oh, there it is. See this seed right here? That's from an amber tree, amber maple tree, and it has all these little holes in it. And I just said, well, the way I'm going to find this is I'm going to put sticks into this seed, seven, and keep them all the same distance apart. And you go to get that. And so I did, and I got seven sticks, all the same length, and this is what it looked like. This is it. This is the original one. Pretty primitive. If you know what I mean. I mean, my gosh, look at this. This is a kid did this. No, I did it. And then I put clay around it. Okay. And so the most important thing to see about this is that you don't have to start with some sophisticated apparatus, or you don't have to follow some book or what. All you got to just figure out what the heck to do. Class and that the platonic forms all had the same shape all the way around, and they had the same surface area. And so based on that, I was, geez, I want the seven-sided form to also have these qualities. Okay, that would be equal surfaces, and it would be um, uh, have the same edge lengths and have the same center from the center of the form to the face of each seven-sided shape, which was triangles and kites. But the problem is I started out wrong already because I had to make this. It took two faces, and I was hoping those two faces were surface areas would be equal. Okay, and so I didn't know what to do about it because it was still quite crude. Um, but that was a hope. There was a hope was I would be able to tie it together with the platonic forms, and I did in one way. And that way is if you run your finger around the different shapes, around the triangle and around the kite, okay, it's the same distance around. So if I put all those measurements around 4 equals 12, and I went around the triangle, and also equals 12. And that is one of the most important things I found that relates to the Platonic forms. Except that, except the most important, most unbelievable thing is that the Chetahedron comes out of the Platonic forms. That's how it's created, actually. Perfect. That's unbelievable. Took me 25 years to find that, though. If you collapse the Chetahedron, in other words, you take it back to the original shape, it turns into a tetrahedron, which is what I found in the first place. And so, in the process of going from the tetrahedron, it goes back to the tetrahedron. So, if you look at the original one, there's the tetrahedron. It's right there. It's there, the bottom, the other side. There's the other side. And what I did was I just took the tetrahedron, and I opened it up. See how I opened it up? Look, that's a tetrahedron. Yeah. And nobody else has ever done this in the Platonic form studies throughout history. So there's the Platonic form of the tetrahedron. And here's when I start to open it up. I saw, oh my gosh, there's something inside. And there it is. And this makes a tetrahedron. It's on here.
Frank, this is a little bit technical, but I want to ask you uh, that regular platonic solids follow the Euler's formula. You know,
Yes, I guess. Yeah, he's a famous, um, yeah, he made a sort of a formula out of the uh,
yeah.
tonic forms. Yes. I'm kind of familiar with Euler, but not really.
Well, his formula for forms is that as I remember it, the faces. Uh, let's see, the vertices minus the edges plus the faces equals 2. But I believe for the chestahedron, it equals 0. In other words, and that tells me there's something about uh, your form being creative, whereas those other ones are imitative of nature, just copying nature. That's that's probably the most important, I think, discovery I feel like you made is like you said that Friday night that like the Merkabah form, it just copies nature, or Victor Schauberg was just copying nature. But what you've brought is something that is creatives, creating something new.
Well, Tom, I thank you for the compliment. It's the best compliment I've heard for a long time, and that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, although most of the Platonic forms are found in nature, absolutely they are. I mean, this is an octahedron, and that's fluorite. Okay, and but anyway, if you could go through all the minerals and you can find and viruses. You can find all the Platonic forms. Yes, the Chetahedron did not come from nature. It came from the work. It came from the question. It is not. It is a creative form. It's between two Platonic forms. Okay, it's an interval. It's like in music. It's the black keys. Okay, and it has never been found because nobody found something from the Platonic forms that's new. This is new. It's brand new, and it comes out of it. And so that means that there's other forms that can come out of platonic forms that nobody has found. And of course, I haven't done it. I know how to do it now. I could probably do it a lot quicker, sure. But yes, you are absolutely right. This is a creative form that was never copied from anything. Nothing copying. And what I said on Friday is that we've got to work to get around copying, okay? Because it's the past. We need to work into the future with our hearts, okay, and with our work and with our will. All of this has to go forward. And so, luckily, I found something that wasn't copied. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But that form that you made, that creative form, out of that will come the platonic solids, which are in nature. And then the other way is also that the platonic forms, right? Did you not start with them, and then out of it you got the chestahedron? In other
Yes,
words, there's a back and forth.
absolutely. The Chesterton goes right back to it goes right back to the tetrahedron. So here's the Chesterton, okay, and out of the Chesterton, it goes back to the tetrahedron. Look, there's the tetrahedron. I just did it right in front of your eyes. Yes, and no one's done that. I've been doing this. I've been telling people that I opened up the tetrahedron, you know, Patricia, for a long time. Okay, you know what I mean. And I presented on. There's over 100 videos on my work, lectures, and not one person has come up and said, "Hey, I tried opening up the chestahedron, or I tried to open up the octahedron or the icosahedron." Nobody. Amazing, yeah. Work on the kitchen table. Okay. And like I showed you, I worked with sticks and mud. I mean, it's okay. You don't have to start sophisticated. I mean, even these doctors, these researchers that work with MIRs, work with magnets and all that, they're not going to find anything what they're doing. They're going to maybe help understand to help people who are sick. That's great. That's perfect. Yeah. But that's not where we need to go. We don't need a magnet machine.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we need is the hands. This is what you need, hands. Okay, not used to push buttons.
And
That's
Frank, that reminds me of what Rudolf Steiner said about creativity or a new impulse. It comes in the sign of Cancer, and the symbol for Cancer, we look at it, oh, it's like a 6-9. But he said, no, it's open. There is a discontinuity. There is a jump from the old to the new. It's not
wow,
something and the creativity is a new impulse that's a stimulus. It's a jump. And
wow.
yeah. So I wondered if you could talk about that, about the creative versus the imitative.
Yeah, you see, okay, so I had this idea that nature, from what I understand, but I don't know for sure, nature took off. Okay, and nature left all the stuff behind. Okay, all this beauty, okay, and truth, honesty, and the leaves and the trees and the minerals and the water and all the nature, right? They left that behind. They left. They said, okay, now it's your turn. Let's see what you can do because we've reached our limit. And from my understand is that the higher worlds, okay, are very interested in the human being because the human being can do this through free thinking or through free feeling or through free will. Okay. We can do that, but across the threshold, they don't have that freedom. That's what I heard. Okay. So they're depending on us to look at nature, not copy it, but find something new in it. Okay. That we can take it with us across the threshold if that's possible. And then it would be a gift to them. Okay. But if we just take the fluoride crystal across and say, well, this is all I've got. All I've got is this tetrahedron here that you guys left behind. So I know it's maybe like a fairy tale. I don't know, but I do know that kind of resonates in me. I kind of feel that in me.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know how long I'll be back. I did put some questions for Frank in the chat if I disappear, but there are a couple of hands up. Let's start with Lisa, and then Charlene, and then Carol.
Yes, hello. I talked to Frank yesterday about some information that I had only Spanish for some reason. She's a doctor. Her name is Esther Del Rio. So what she discovered, and has to do with the blood that we were discussing, and also it has to do how this relates to the chestahedron and how our blood relates to the chestahedron. So I'm going to read a little bit of what she discovered. The Dr. Esther Del Rio developed her model. So what she discovers is that we have water in our body, but it's not H2O as we know it. It's H2O37. It's called crystal liquid water. And she discovered that this transports all the information. It has all the information that we need. It has our ancestry information and everything. And the most interesting is that these clusters, right, of HTO37 have a form, and it has to do with the tetrahedron. So I'm going to read to you that. So Dr. Esther Del Rio developed her model from Linus Pauling's work on the structure of the water, who already in the 50s, using an apparatus of X-ray diffraction, formulated the theory that water molecules could be submitted together, forming a dodecahedron of pentagonal and hexagonal faces. And guess what? In the middle appears a tetrahedron. Isn't that amazing? So my question to you, and it is composed of 4 equilateral triangles. Isn't that amazing? So once again,
it is to me.
Yeah. So I found this article. I couldn't send you yesterday because everything was in Spanish. So her work has a lot of impact, especially locally where she's from. She's from Mexico. And I don't know, internationally, there's more interest because it has to do with this. Around the cell, there's something that they call it magnetita. I don't know how to translate it, magnetita ferris. So that acts like that's why we are magnets. We have bioenergy inside and outside. So what caught my attention was the form of this H2O crystallized water that has to do with the chestahedron. I am amazed. So Frank, my question to you would be, what does dodecahedron mean? Like, so it is together and inside the tetrahedron. This information, how does this open you a new vision of your work?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that, but I do. I'm amazed at what you found, and I'm amazed that you were able to take the tetrahedron, okay, and not put it on your shelf, but that you found some
I'm
relationship.
investigating.
Yes, yes, and not only that, but you've taken the tetrahedron, okay, and you applied it into your work, your personal work with other people. Okay, and this, by taking the tetrahedron, you've taken the tetrahedron. The tetrahedron, I'm just the one that put it together with my fingers, okay, but it's not mine, and it's not some personal thing. It's not personal at all. The tetrahedron is a tetrahedron. Just leave me out of it, okay? Because I just discovered that's all I did, but I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to do 7, and that you have been able to tie this together with this
37.
37? 37? Okay. That's fantastic. Okay, that's fantastic. And that's what most people have to do is to try to find out from something new what's the possibility of this thing because it's never
What's the
been here
possible?
before, right? And you have really put your teeth into this. And I
Yes,
appreciate it and I thank you very much.
no, I thank you. I can't imagine. I have so much that I love to share, not for me, because as Frank said, all the information that we have to recreate, we have to use it, not with our mind. So what I did is I take the tetrahedron in my therapies. And also I prepare something. I'm gonna be very, very quick because I know we have a lot of questions. But I have something special for you, Frank. I'm gonna send you this to you. I wrote a little story that would encompass everything, the duality, and how we can use the tetrahedron, how we can integrate that in our hearts. So the story says the following: in a time forgotten by memory, there was a land suspended between heaven and earth, an intermediate realm where light and shadow danced in the perfect harmony. This place was guarded by the keepers of balance, beings who understood the sacred language of geometry, that hidden language of frequency. Among them lived Essence, a woman who since birth could feel the pulse of the earth in her feet and the vibration of the cosmos in her chest. Since childhood, Essence dreamed and knew that a geometry existed, one that could unify heaven and earth, light and darkness, the masculine and the feminine. The wise once spoke about a strange form called the tetrahedron, a figure unknown to most, but one that contained the secret of the cosmic heart. It was said that whoever understood its structure would comprehend the heartbeat of the universe. But one day, guess what happened? A great imbalance began to shake the land. Duality had lost its harmonious dance. The sky burned with electric storms, and the earth trembled with deep fissures. People's hearts began to close. Sounds familiar? Trapped in fear, unable to feel the unity behind the apparent separation. Guided by her intuition, Essence set out on a journey to a sacred place where they said there was a wise man who knew about the tetrahedron. His name was Frank Chester. This tetrahedron was said to float in its purest form, waiting to be remembered. She crossed rivers where she saw her own fears reflected, passed through forests where the trees whispered the secrets of geometry, and finally, upon reaching the summit, she found this wise man, and before him was this tetrahedron suspended in the air. Its structure held a proportion, a form integrating the Vesica Pisces and the balance of the Platonic solids. As it moved, Essence understood the truth. Duality was not a battle. It was integrating opposites. Heaven and earth were one in the heart. When she touched the figure, a pulse ran through her chest as her own heart was expanding beyond her body. She was connected with the wisdom of the universe. And at the same time, she was okay, and this geometry also imprinted in her being the connection with the earth. The people since then remember how to feel with an open heart, how to see light in the shadow, and how to integrate the eternal dance of duality. From that moment, on balance with the tetrahedron, the balance was restored to earth. That's in honor of you, Mr. Frank.
Yeah. What a gift that is from you. I mean, I really, what can I say? I mean, I started with sticks and mud. You know what I mean? I mean, and then this comes. This is. I mean, how can you anticipate any of this? You can't. You can't anticipate anything. But Elizabeth, what you just described is the human heart. It's
Exactly.
really.
And that connection, when you guys, when you take the tetrahedron, I use it in my sessions. I studied biology for 10 years, and I'm using the tetrahedron in my therapies, and I integrate it, and you cannot imagine the results that I'm having. It's not only the geometry. Remember, geometry doesn't heal, but it aids us. So whatever you do, if you're a psychologist, if you are an artist, Like, Frank said, take the chestahedron and bring your passion into it. I like to write. I like to, I'm an emotional coach. So bring that to
Yes,
your world. So I think that's the best that we can do for Frank and for the world.
that
Hey,
that's what you could do for your heart.
And it's very interesting because I studied about the Merkaba, but there was something that I did not resonate. But when you presented the chestahedron as the evolved Merkaba, oh my gosh, you cannot imagine what I'm doing with that Merkaba right now. I'm activating DNA because I have protocols for DNAs. You cannot imagine what I am doing with my body, with my soul, with that. So why did you say that the Merkaba is like still, and the Merkaba formed by the chestahedron has more movements? Can you explain that, please?
Well, yeah, here it is. Okay, this is the new. This is coming out of a cube, just like the Merkaba. Same thing. And but this is spinning in both directions. So the blue is turning in one direction, the red is turning in the other direction. Okay. And so when these spin, okay, it's like this. Okay, this is what the meditation is. It's going back and forth and finding the balance between these two. And there is a balance, and that's what we're trying to do with the heart, is to make our life together here on the earth, inside your body, with the heart, and listening to it, and trying to find the balance in your life. And that takes effort. This takes work. And just sitting in this or just standing in this, okay, that's not good enough. Okay, we have to take outside of this what is happening, okay, in our life. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with the Merkaba. I don't have it right here, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's time to move on. Okay, I mean, this is really old, The Merkaba is really old. And what does everybody do it? They come up with different ideas. They put the woman in here, they put the man in here, and they put all kinds of spheres that go around here and all kinds of energies and so forth. You know what I mean? Aren't we tired of that? Let's get something new and find out if we can even go further with our meditations based on a new form. The Chetahedron is an archetype. It's a prototype. Okay, and the geometry. Now, and geometry isn't basically connected with manifestation and physical. Okay, but it's behind the physical. It's what the physical started out with in its development was geometry. And if you read any of these books that Koff says, even Kepler and all these guys say that God geometrizes constantly. Okay, so in my form, it looks like that this geometry is not a physical. I mean, this wasn't from the physical world. This came from the spiritual world. This is a spiritual form. No matter how certain people will be very offended that, especially the doctors, will be very offended that this is I could say something like that, but in my heart I can't. This didn't come from me, okay, which I say a lot, but um, it is the archetype between um, the spiritual world and the physical world. So, and I use the example of Goethe. Goethe found the archetype of the plant, and the archetype of the plant that Goethe found was the leaf. And that makes sense because all the plants have leaves, I mean, basically. So all of the human hearts, okay, are based on a geometry, which is the Chesterfield, and that, in my view. And the reason I say that after 15 years, 25 years, is that every book that I've been able to get hold of on the heart, okay, there is no archetype geometry of any kind by anybody in this world yet. The closest they come to, they say this is the geometry of the human heart. This is called a prolate. And a prolate is exactly what they use. They use this, and they also use the football. And the thing is that this has 2 points. The heart doesn't have 2 points, okay? It has 1 point at the apex, but the top is open. So football doesn't work, and this doesn't work either. But this is all they got. And one other thing they do is they take the real heart and they put a net grid around it, okay? And then they take the heart out, and there's this net of the shape of the heart. But you see, the problem with that's back to copying nature. You don't want to do that. You're not gonna get to understanding of the human heart, okay, by putting a net around it and saying this is the shape on the outside. So I'll show you this. This is a tetrahedron that shows you the currents that came from Audrey McCollum's cube. Okay, and they asked me to look at Audrey McCollum's cube because they couldn't figure it out. And I guess she was in the hospital at the time and couldn't answer. Okay, so I put the tetrahedron into a cube and I found the currents. That I related that to a sphere of the Earth. And now I have the tetrahedron in the sphere, okay, and I found out that Rudolf Steiner, okay, also put a form in the Earth, and he said it was a somewhat tetrahedron. He also said that it was a pyramid. He said it 22 times in this lecture. Okay, so there is a current in the earth, okay, and there is I've tried to follow it with the currents of the oceans and so forth, but I found out, okay, that the biggest discovery I found doing this is to understand the aurora borealis. Okay, now I understand the aurora borealis, okay, according to this, okay, is the aurora borealis that you see is coming out of the earth, not coming in. Isn't that amazing? Now, and I've shown the geometry of how that happens. I mean, it's not something I'm just made up and said. No, the geometry taught me how the aurora borealis work. And I have a 3-page article of it in New View magazine a long time ago with all the drawings and so forth. But it's based on Rudolf Steiner telling me that inside the sphere of the earth, there's a heart, there's a tetrahedron, a somewhat tetrahedron. So I don't know if that helps at all, but please keep asking me.
Yeah. Thank
I know
you.
I got sidetracked, but I did have to bring in the cube and the currents. Okay, so opening up. All right. Um, the opening up is, basically finding out that there is something inside. It's not just some hollow thing. It's not just made out of paper or it's not a bunch of sticks or whatever. There has to be something within. Okay. And by opening it up, I found out there is something in there geometrically, but also that creates a new form. And that new form has a form inside it too. So by opening things up, you could find out what else there is, what else can be discovered, what else is hiding behind this closed form. I hope I
Is
answered
it
that.
is it kind of a mystery or is it a science?
Well, a mystery. Is it a mystery? It's magic. It's white magic. Okay, and it's available to everyone, and that's why it's not black magic. It's the tetrahedron can be made by anybody. I have everything on the internet to how to make it. Okay, so it really is magic. I mean, it's both science and it is art. You see, Einstein said this: the most beautiful art there is mathematics, and the highest form of mathematics is art. Okay, so here we go again. We have the balance between science and art. Okay, the heart is where this comes in. The heart comes in and says, hey, yeah, I see this part. I see this part. Let's see if we can combine them. That's what the heart is all about, is trying to bring these polarities together because they belong together.
So when you're opening it up, I'm imagining images come to you about what you're seeing and what's possible.
Well, when I opened it up, there's no higher sense of enthusiasm I've ever experienced. Okay, the enthusiasm that comes from this work, the enthusiasm that comes from finding something new like this, okay, is overwhelming. And you see, the enthusiasm is what the heart lives on from us. It has to come from us. So we need to find something that is intuitively full of enthusiasm for each one of us, and each one of us are different, and each heart is different, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We're not all have the same heart. We're not all supposed to write with the right hand. You know what I mean? It's just that's the basis of the heart, is the enthusiasm, warmth. That's the tetrahedron, and then the wisdom comes from the octahedron. It's the light. The light is the freedom of thinking with the heart and being free of thoughts. Now, I know it's getting way out there. Somebody better bring me back.
Just a short statement, because Frank, somebody in chat corrected me about the Euler's formula, and your chestahedron does follow Euler's formula. But as I looked at it, it involves the connection between becoming and being, because you have 7 faces, you have 7 vertices, and 12 edges.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And so that adds up to 2 in Euler's formula. But I realized, with the 7 planets, 7 and the 7 stages of in evolution, 7 is the number of becoming. 12 with the constellations is, we could call it the number of being. So I wondered if that connection between the movement or the evolution, the 7, and the sort of I don't want to say the stasis of the 12, the universal.
Okay, so just the idea of those numbers you just stated, an unbelievable form that has this. Okay, that has these numbers is amazing, and plus this is a asymmetrical. It's a it's a prime number. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It overwhelms me. I have to kind of back away from all the relationships that this form has, and I have to keep working on finding more and more about it. But the relationship to the numbers are amazing. I mean, it's just you add the 7 and you add the 7 and the 5. There's 12 there. That has 12 inches. It just goes on and on. I appreciate the man who told you, or the person that told you about Euler, the Chesterton relationship to it, his formula that he found. So I thank both of you.
Laws of geometry. Euler's formula applies to all polyhedra,
Ah,
at least all convex polyhedra. So it's speaking through this lawfulness like, this is just a possibility, like a poem speaks through the given language. A song speaks through the language of music and the laws of music, or a painting through the language of color. So, yeah, that's all.
well, thanks, Joseph. Yeah, yeah. The Chesterton is an interval, you know, and so it's between two notes. Okay, or it's like between two forms, and so it can move, and it does. It's a movable. It has a rhythm. Okay, to answer your question about the way it moves, yeah, it wanted me to slow it down, right? So the thing I want you to take away from that, what I showed you, is that I was able to show you that the chestahedron collapses into a tetrahedron. So what I want you to do is not to show to you how it works, but I want you to work with it in your mind on how I did that and how is that possible and so forth. And you get more out of that question and trying to solve it there, okay, than you would if I show it to you. Because once I show it to you, okay, it's over. The ha-ha is gone. The the striving in the question, because what's behind that question is transformation, and you would like to see that transformation, and you can see it because you're just like me. It'll come to you if you work for it. Yeah, if you're really interested in it, really interested in it. But usually when I do that and I show how it works and everything, and the response I get is, "What's next?"
Okay.
The tetrahedron comes out of the tetrahedron. When you open it up, okay, then the tetrahedron has a chance to move in to its shape. But it will also go back. So it's back and forth, back and forth. And that movement from the tetrahedron to the tetrahedron is how the heart works, is how the heart moves, is how it goes through its rhythm in less than 1 second, an entire life. Okay, that movement of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that's how the heart moves.
Well, and that's also how the Earth moves because of Steiner talking about the tetrahedron, but that becomes a chestahedron in a rhythm. Would you not relate that back to the Earth's rhythm where
Well,
you were speaking of earlier?
give me on the Earth. I have a model of the Earth, and it shows the chestahedron in it. And I don't quite know where exactly it is, but it's here. Um, anyway, yeah, you see, Rudolf Steiner, somehow his drawing of the um, tetrahedron in the Earth, okay, didn't work. I mean, geometrically. So you can't put a tetrahedron into a sphere, okay, where he says it hits lawfully. It's wrong. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, everything he did doesn't necessarily mean that it works. But he did give 3 points. One was Japan, one was Mid-America, and one was in Russia. Okay, and then at the bottom was the South Pole. So I knew where the 4 points were, okay? And if I put a tetrahedron into the Earth where he said those 3 points were, it just rattles around like, like a just two balls inside each other. So I took the tetrahedron and I took those 3 points and I put that in the globe right where he said, and sure enough, the bottom of the tetrahedron hits the South Pole, and you can shake it like this, and it won't rattle. So what does Rudolf Steiner do? He said there was somewhat of a pyramid. He said there was something of a tetrahedron. Okay, he didn't say it was a tetrahedron. He said it was somewhat. Okay, and in that process, that somewhat that he said, okay, I started to work on this. Now, if he said it was a tetrahedron, that's it, I would have never put the tetrahedron in there and tried it. But if you put the tetrahedron in there, it doesn't work. But if he hadn't said it,
What's
I
coming?
wouldn't. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. What's coming up for me is that the heart is probably more ancient than any of the other organs in the human body, and it's more cosmic knowledge. And the form that you brought forward, the chestahedron, is probably an ancient form, more ancient than the platonic solids. And you're right, there's probably other forms that are in the ethers that still need to come down. And I think it's the heart that's bringing it forward that inspired you. And the heart is probably so powerful. So that's the first one that came through with that knowledge. I think there's more to come, like you say.
Everything you say, I absolutely agree with 100%. It is ancient, okay? And it is the heart is the first to come. Okay, the tetrahedron is the first to come. Okay, and which is warmth. Rudolf Steiner said that, all about warmth if you read it. And there are more forms coming. They're going to come. They have to. They just have to come. And it is ancient. Absolutely is ancient. And
Yeah, it's going to represent more higher knowledge as we progress. Yeah, because we're evolving.
Yes.
We're evolving species as a cosmos. Everything is evolving. So that's just a tool that came forward to bring us the knowledge.
Rudolf Steiner said if you could turn the heart inside out, it would be the cosmos. And so I turned this chestahedron inside out and found another new form never seen before. So, even in that process, because I didn't know how to turn something in and out. I thought it was like a glove. You put a glove on, you turn it off, you pull it off, and now it goes on. The other hand, that's inside out. No, it is not, because that's a skin, a rubber skin. Okay, it doesn't have any substance. It's just the face, like a balloon. Okay, so I had to figure out, how do you turn something inside out? What do you have to do? And so I did a lot of things, and I found out how to do it. Okay, so just the idea that he says that the cosmos can be seen in the heart turned inside out was inspiration for me. Okay, I didn't try to copy it. There wasn't anything to copy. He didn't know how to do that because that wasn't his field. That wasn't what he does. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a new form. I think it's coming forward as an ancient form. Very, very ancient, but being revealed to us now in these times.
Well, there's some reason for this. Okay. I mean, especially in our condition around the world and what's going on. Okay, we need the chestahedron. We need to get balanced because it's so easy to get polarized in this world, and that's exactly the things that I think that Christ is all about, and I think it's what the heart is all about, and we need it now. Thank you for that question.
How can we help you? I guess we're thinking that as well.
Well, to me, the thing I pray every night is that the chestahedron can reach more and more people. It can be kind of like what Stuart's trying to do here with these different platforms. Okay, that means there's more exposure, and I would like the chestahedron to be universally exposed. And that will lead, I think, to more heart thinking. Because if you understand the chestahedron, you understand that it comes from the vesica, and that the vesica is all about balance between two sides. Okay, that's what our heart's all about. That's what the chestahedron is all about. And the more we do that, the more that we can change ourselves, so that we can change others that can see the change. They will be enthusiastic to actually change also. And that's the way we change from one person to the next. Okay, and that's what we got. We don't change a group. We don't change a nation. We change each other individually, one to one. And that's what the heart's all about, because we all got